Hey everyone, this is David with Android Police, and in my hand is the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. You've probably seen this phone everywhere by now, but this is the actual phone itself. In my hand, we've got it with functioning software and everything here, and I'm going to tell you just a little bit about it. As you can see, we'll go around the hardware first, I guess, and we'll take you back to the back here. As been leaked many times, the fingerprint scanner is up here near the camera module. I really haven't played with it much, can't give you feedback on what it's like to have the fingerprint scanner up that high. As far as this one, this is the Arctic Silver, I believe is the color they call this one. This is one of the 3 colors that will be coming to the United States. The United States is getting this, Arctic Silver, Midnight Black, and Orchid Gray, which is actually, Orchid Gray is more of kind of a grayish purple, which actually does look really nice. I like this Arctic Silver just fine, especially because you've got the black hardware up front here, as opposed to the matching colors that Samsung tended to do with last year's and previous year's phones. So, as far as other buttons on the device and such, right here you've got the Bixby key, which launches the Bixby Assistant. These demo devices don't have Bixby in a working form right now. They have kind of a fake demo version on it because Bixby isn't really ready yet. But you've got the volume rocker there, and then on the right side you've got the power key. Now, for those of you who are wondering, so what has Samsung done to kind of make sure the home key experience is still there if you want it? Actually, if you press where the home key normally would be, the home button is always there and illuminated if you have always on display active. And so you press it, you get some nice little tactile feedback. It sort of feels like you're using Apple's Force Touch, I guess. Kind of a similar thing, and the phone will just turn on. Alternatively, you can use the fingerprint scanner on the back, of course, but if you have a secure lock screen enabled, you can use that home button, and then you can use something like the iris scanner or Samsung's new face unlock system. Now, we're in the software here. This is Android 7.0. This is the S8 Plus, so you can see it has a big 6.2-inch screen. It is a really tall phone, I will say that. The width isn't bad at all, though. It's still very thin, still feels very light with its 3,500 mAh battery. This is the US version of the phone, and so it has a Snapdragon 835 octa-core processor, 4 gigabytes of RAM, and 64 gigabytes of storage standard, which is very good news, obviously. As far as the software goes, if you've used Samsung's recent Grace UX, you have a pretty good idea of what's going on here. It looks very similar in most respects. And as far as new features and stuff, Samsung was showing off a few things today, but I think we'll find a lot more as we get in there. Now, one of the cool ones I noted, for example, actually, I'll show you this first. The launcher now has a swipe-up app drawer, very similar to the Pixel launcher on Google's Pixel phones. So that's nice. I haven't seen how they're surfacing that for new users, but I imagine people get used to it fairly quickly. It's pretty handy, and actually if you swipe up again, it closes it, which is interesting. So if we go into the settings here, and if we look for display, I'm going to find the thing that you're probably most interested in knowing with these new software Nav Keys, and that is, can you switch the order? And you can! Ta-da! It's like regular Android should be again. I'm very excited about this. You can also change the color of the nav bar, which is really cool, I think. You can change the home button sensitivity for waking it up, which is interesting. I hadn't noticed that before. I was too enamored with the nav bar button layout change that you can make. But as you can see, like if you want a blue nav bar, you can have that. I don't know why you would. Or if you want a black nav bar that's more like stock Android, you can do that as well. So Samsung is shipping these phones in half resolution. So even though it is a WQHD Plus display, they ship in FHD Plus. So it's half the resolution, so it uses less power and probably performs a bit better. If you had a Galaxy S7 or S7 Edge last year, you know that the Nougat update set your phone to that half resolution by default to improve power consumption. It's an interesting choice, but I guess Samsung's probably right. Most people won't notice this, and if you do, you can go in there and change it, obviously. As far as performance so far, the thing about these early phones is they always feel fairly fast just because they're so fresh out of the box and everything, and Samsung's phones have been generally lambasted for their long-term performance issues. So I can't really tell you that this phone isn't going to lag one day, and Samsung itself doesn't seem very confident about that either when I asked about it. They'll maybe talk to us some more about that in the coming weeks if they've made any real performance changes. As far as the battery goes, though, you'll know that they are 3,000 and 3,500 mAh respectively for the S8 and S8 Plus, which is, not huge, but Samsung claims the switch to example for the Snapdragon 835 processor should offset any reduction in battery size and increase in display size. So they seem pretty confident about that in terms of efficiency. The camera has a new UI, and I think I can just double tap to launch it there. And it takes, you've got a lot more black space because of the new aspect ratio of the screen, which I haven't really discussed, I guess. So it's 18.5 by 9, which is a really, really long screen. But the benefit is you can get those software keys on there without using up too much screen real estate. Samsung also says this is great for multitasking. The phone is running Android 7.0, which Samsung says it will ship with, not 7.1. That's a little disappointing, I think, in my mind. You've also got Samsung's kind of version of launcher shortcuts here, I think. Oh no, you don't, actually. Somebody was telling me they had this, but it doesn't look like they do. They have their own kind of baked-in version here that looks similar but isn't the same, which I guess that's Samsung for you. Like I said, what was leaked was very accurate, and we'll also have some information about things like the deck stock, the new wireless charging pad, and a couple other items Samsung has updated for the phone. But if you've seen the leaks to date, you knew what to expect. This phone very much looks like what was leaked. As far as changes to the hardware that I haven't discussed already, Samsung says the rear camera is basically the same. They weren't willing to say that there were any major hardware changes made. They also weren't willing to say it's the exact same sensor, but that's the vibe I got. The camera that has been upgraded is the front-facing unit, which is now 8 megapixels, up from 5 megapixels last year, which is very much appreciated, I'm sure. Like I said, you do still have the iris scanner that was found in the Note 7 as well, fingerprint scanner on the back, and I think I'm going on a little long here, so that is our first look, kind of overview and hands-on of the Samsung Galaxy S8.